High in the remote mountains, life was quiet but harsh. The villages scattered along the winding roads were isolated from the rest of the world, their residents relying on small clinics and traveling doctors for their healthcare. When the weather was good, help arrived in time. But when storms rolled in or landslides blocked the narrow roads, medical emergencies often turned tragic. For years, the people of these mountains had lived with this risk, hoping for a better solution. Health Director Lee, who had served the region for more than a decade, knew the struggle all too well. He had seen ambulances stuck behind rockslides and supply trucks delayed for days. So when a team of experts proposed a drone emergency delivery system, capable of flying medical supplies directly over the mountains in minutes, Director Lee was hopeful. The system promised speed, efficiency, and most importantly, the chance to save lives during critical moments. But there was a problem. The drone delivery system was expensive, far more costly than anyone had expected. The Health Bureau's budget was already stretched thin, and funding the system would require cutting back on other services. Director Lee couldn't make the decision alone. He called a meeting with the village representatives to discuss the proposal and gather their thoughts. The meeting was held in a modest town hall, its wooden walls lined with posters about public health and safety. As the wind howled outside, inside, the debate began. Representative Wang, a respected elder from the northern village, spoke first. His voice was firm. "I believe we must prioritize the drone system," he said. "Our transportation is poor, and people are dying because help comes too late. With drones, we can deliver medicine, blood, even vaccines, in minutes. In emergencies, that speed can mean the difference between life and death." Around the room, some nodded in agreement. They knew the risks of waiting for an ambulance that might never arrive in time. But then Representative Chen, from the southern village, stood and shook her head. "I understand the importance of emergencies," she said calmly, "but we cannot ignore everyday health care. Our clinics are underfunded. We lack basic supplies and doctors. If we spend most of our budget on drones, how will we maintain regular checkups, chronic disease treatments, or maternal care? We might save lives in emergencies, but lose the battle for long-term health." Director Lee listened carefully. Both arguments were true. On one side, the drone system offered a solution to urgent, life-threatening situations. On the other, it threatened to drain resources from the community's daily healthcare needs. He looked around the room at the worried faces of the villagers. Some were parents, concerned about their children's future. Others were elders, relying on clinics for their medicine and support. That night, Director Lee sat alone in his office, surrounded by maps of the region and budget reports spread across his desk. He thought about the families who had lost loved ones because help hadn't come fast enough. He also thought about the clinics struggling to keep basic services running, and the long-term needs of the community. "If we choose one," he murmured, "we might sacrifice the other." Outside, the mountains stood quiet under a blanket of mist. Lee knew the decision he made would shape the future of these villages. Would drones become the wings of hope for emergencies, or would they leave the clinics grounded and underfunded? The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. He needed a solution that balanced both urgent needs and long-term care. As dawn broke, Director Lee prepared to address the council again.